New hair, who dis? This is the girl who fried her hair making it blue. And so now she's ginger again and very, very short. It's cute though, right? I mean, at least I am back to being a Weasley, albeit a Weasley who is in Slytherin. So a socially outcast Weasley. Hi guys, it's Leanne and today I'm here to tell you all about my brand new TBR challenge, Stackit. Stackit, as with most other great TBR challenges on BookTube I have found, was born out of the most tremendous reading slump. At the beginning of this year I hit the ground running and I read a lot of really, really good books. In fact, I found a handful of new favourites that I think I will come back to again and again for years to come. But for some reason at the end of March, all of that just ground to a halt. Everything that I was picking up was just okay, some of it was really samey, I had a few DNFs, I had a few big disappointments of books that I thought I was really, really gonna love. And then one day, something clicked in my head. I had been cleaning some shelves and I had taken a bunch of books off of that shelf and just put them in a stack on the floor. And I decided, for whatever reason, that I was just going to pick up the top book on that stack and I was going to read it. And it didn't matter whether it was a good book or a bad book or a book that I wanted to burn. I was going to read it cover to cover. That book turned out to be I Let You Go by Claire Mackintosh, and I have thoughts with a capital T about this book that I will share later in a review. But for whatever reason, it worked. So then I thought to myself, perhaps we are onto something. And so I made a stack. Here is the stack. And that stack is going to be my TBR pile for June. So here are my rules for Stackit. Every month for the next couple of months, I am going to form a TBR. Now next month, my lovely friend Kirsty from The Tea Is Also Cursed has picked my TBR for me. So next month, whatever books Kirsty has picked, I am going to pull them off of my shelves in the order that she gives me them and put them in a stack, and that is the order that I am going to read them in. My only other rule is that I must make a decision about every book on this stack. So if I get halfway through a book and decide that I'm not sure if I'm liking it, I either have to keep going or I have to DNF it. There is no pausing the stack. There is no putting the stack down for later. That way leads to darkness and book slumps and endless book dating like last year when I had like 20 books on the go at one time and couldn't finish any of them. This stack here has become a crime corner stack by mistake, just because that's who I am. The first book that I have here is The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown, and I heard about this one from Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. And the minute that Emma said that this was sort of a thriller, sort of a horror, I was hooked. This one is about Eleanor and Richard, who have stretched their finances as far as they can physically go to buy the house of their dreams. This is an old house. This is a house that needs much renovation, and they know going in that it's going to be a struggle. But from the minute they settle in the house, Eleanor is convinced that there is an eerie atmosphere, that things are just not right. I love the first paragraph of this, and I'm going to read it to you because it is tiny and perfect. And it says, "It was there from the beginning, the day they first saw the house. Eleanor noticed the smell first. It wasn't unpleasant, just strong. The smell of age, of yellowing, of brown grey, of damp. It was persistent, not the kind of smell you could get rid of, or, she thought, get used to." This one is giving me delicious The Little Stranger vibes. It sounds like it's going to be that kind of literary ghost story, and I'm super excited for it. The next book is one that has been all over BookTube recently, and it is Whistle in the Dark by Emma Healy, who is also of course the author of Elizabeth is Missing. This one is about Jen and Lana. Lana is Jen's 15-year-old daughter, and one day she goes missing. She is missing for 4 days. It is her mother's worst nightmare, but then she just reappears like nothing happened. The problem is Jen can't get Lana to talk about what happened during those 4 days wandering in the wilderness. But day by day Lana is changing. She has to sleep with the light on. She is terrified of everything. She won't go to school. She won't speak to people. And Jen becomes obsessed with finding out why her daughter is becoming a stranger. The next book that I have here is another one that is thoroughly Emma's fault. She really loved All Is Not Forgotten by Wendy Walker. So Jenny Kramer was attacked one night and she can't remember what's happened. But the reason that she can't remember what's happened is not because she has amnesia from being hit over the head or selective amnesia, which is this huge trend, of course, after Girl on the Train, but because her parents have decided to place her in a drug trial. A drug which is very controversial and essentially erases all of the actual picture memories of what happens during traumatic episodes. But the problem is it erases the pictures but not the sensations. So Jenny still has sensory memories of what happened to her, and she also has a scar on her body which really bothers her. But the thing that bothers her even more is that because she can't remember who attacked her, he could be anywhere at any time and she wouldn't know. Blech. This is another one that gives me the absolute creep factor, which is something that I crave in thrillers these days because of all of the cookie cutter thrillers that have been coming out in the last couple of years. So I will be very excited to get to this one when I get to it in the stack. The next four that I have here are all brand new releases, and I have heard almost no reviews about them and seen almost nobody talk about them, which I have decided is probably a good thing, because you guys know what I'm like with hype. Sometimes hype turns me completely off and it will take ages for me to actually get to a book, The Woman in the Window. So I've heard nothing about these books and I really kind of want to keep it that way. So the next one that I have is Snap by Belinda Bauer. This one picks up on a stifling summer's day where 11-year-old Jack is in his family car with his younger sisters, and their mother has literally just said, "Jack's in charge, stay in the car," and has walked away. And she hasn't come back. We then pick up 3 years later and Jack is still in charge and trying to keep his sisters safe. In fact, Jack has done such a good job that nobody knows that they are living on their own, not going to school, and that no one is feeding them. And then all of a sudden, Jack is confronted with finding out exactly what happened to his mother. The next one is beautiful. This is Our House by Louise Candlish. So the premise of this one is that one day Fee Lawson comes home and she discovers that there is somebody moving into her house. She drives down her street and there is a moving van and people are moving things into her house, but she has not sold her house. She has no intention of selling her house. She's in fact very happy in her house with her children and her husband Bram. But when she tries to contact Bram to tell him about this ludicrous, horrible mistake that is going on, Bram has disappeared. I don't know what the hell is going on in this book, but I'm there for it. Ironically, the next one is also about a house. There seem to be quite a few housebound narratives in this stack, so either they'll be an antidote to each other or they'll all just be really amazing, which is what I'm hoping. But this one is The House Swap by Rebecca Fleet. Since I bought this one, it seems to have been on BookTube a lot. It has got a lot of attention, and I think that is because the premise is so freaking creepy. This one is about Caroline and Francis, and they have been through the mill in their marriage in the last few years. They've worked really, really hard to build themselves up again, to be a couple for their son's sake, and so now they want to go away and kind of reconnect with each other as people instead of parents. And so they get the offer of a house swap and absolutely jump at the chance of having a little bit of time somewhere new. But when they get to the house that they have swapped with, it is absolutely nothing like what they thought it was going to be. It's dark, it's creepy, it's a little bit sinister, and Caroline's husband decides that she's nuts, that there's nothing wrong with this house. And so when she starts finding things that are really reminiscent of her own life in her own house, like flowers that she loves and certain songs in the CD player, something clicks with Caroline and she realises that this might be someone she knows, and that if that's true, that someone is now in her house. Do you have goosebumps? Because I'm there. And the last book is also a book which I have spotted a lot on BookTube since I picked it up, and I'm hoping that that's a positive thing because I'm a little bit on the fence about this synopsis. This one is Our Kind of Cruelty by Araminta Hall. This one is about Mike and Verity, and they play a game that they call The Crave. The aim of this game is to prove that Verity needs nothing else in her life except for Mike. And just Mike. Just Mike. And they have played this game in all sorts of different ways for a very long time. But this time they are playing perhaps the most dangerous game of all, because Verity is marrying another man. Are you starting to see the twist? So from what I understand, this book is from Mike's point of view, and although he very much thinks that he is playing a game with Verity called The Crave, Verity does not think that she is playing a game with anybody. Verity is very seriously marrying a man who she loves, and Mike does not intend to let that happen. And now you probably understand what I mean by being a little bit on the fence about this premise, because you know how I feel about women being victimised in thrillers. It is a huge thing right now. It's always been a problem, but it is a much more prevalent problem right now. And so I have big question marks over this book, but as I say, it seems to be very well received on BookTube so far. So we will see how I go when I get to the end of the stack. There is a small cheat in this stack, and that is that the top book, Dead Girls by Abigail Tartellin, was sent to me by Mantle, which is an imprint of Pan Macmillan, whom I love dearly. And I was desperate to read it immediately as soon as it came through the door, and I am. I am reading it, and I am absolutely freaking loving it. And technically that means that Stackit is already working, because I picked the first book off of the stack and I am loving it. Now, as you can see, this stack is 8 books tall, and I don't know if I'm going to get through 8 books in the month of June. And technically the top book on this stack I have read most of towards the end of May. So I don't know whether I'm going to make Stackit monthly, like a monthly TBR, or whether I'm going to do Stackit when I get to the end of a stack and I need to start another one. But either way, I'm going to try it for a couple of months and I'm going to see how it goes. And I would love to see some of you guys join in with it. The only rule is to read them in the order that you stack them in. I think that's pretty achievable, even for me. So I guess what we can say is that is my Stackit TBR for June. I'm very excited for it. It so far seems to be working a treat, and I hope that that continues. And as always, if you have read any of these books in this stack, please do tell me about them down below. In fact, tell me about your TBRs for June, even if you're not stacking them. I will speak to you guys soon.